We are spiraling back. I had to do the inequalities while I was gone because I thought that would be an easy one for you to watch a video and learn. But I want to go back. We did section 1 and 5 together, the systems of equations, and we did substitution and elimination for regular systems and nonlinear systems. Within that, there are also word problems that we might have, or we could have systems involving more than just two variables. So we're going to look at those two cases today, and then hopefully give you guys some time to practice those. So big things to remember, same rules that we've always had. Anything involving word problems, I expect you to define your variables. So we now can do x's and y's, but I need to know what x and y represent. And what do I expect at the end? A sentence. You have to make sure you're answering the question. All right, so in the 2006 Winter Olympics, the total number of medals won by Germany and the United States was 54. Germany won 4 more medals than the US. How many were won in each country? So lots of ways you might figure this out. If I were going to do system, I would have to tell my variables. What am I trying to find? How many each country won. So X could be the number of US medals, and Y could be the number of Germany medals. Okay, those could be flipped. That's why you have to tell what's what. So we know the total number won by Germany and the United States was 54. So what would my first equation be? Okay, Germany won 4 more than the US. What would I put? Okay. Germany won more than the US, so it would have to be y equals the number the US won plus 4. Since Germany won more. Would this one be easier to solve with substitution or elimination? Substitution. The second one is already y equals, so we could just plug that into the first one. So x plus my y, which is x plus 4, equals 54. So if we subtract our 4, 2x equals 50, divide, and x is 25. So then we need to answer the question. X was the number of the US won, so the US won 25 medals, and Germany won. So we have to plug it into either equation, probably easiest to do the second one. Y is x plus 4, so 25 plus 4. Is that one okay? So Sarah has $70,000 to invest and requires an overall rate of return of 9%. She can invest in a safe, government-insured certificate of deposit, but it only pays 8%. To obtain 9%, she agrees to invest some of her money in non-insured corporate bonds, paying 12%. How much should be placed in each investment to achieve her goal? So what am I trying to find? Right. So we can put how much in the government insured and how much in the corporate bond. You could also just label them by their percents. Either one is fine. So I'm going to say X is the amount at 8% or the certificate of deposit. Y is going to be the amount at 12% or in bonds. All right, altogether she has $70,000. So what would my first equation be? Okay, then I talk about the interest. How do you calculate interest? Just simple interest here. So if I'm going to pay you 5% interest on $10, what would you do?
10 times 0.0.
Right. You take the 5% or 0.05 times 10. So X was the amount of 8%. We're earning 8% interest. So that would be 0.08 times the amount of X. Plus, my Y was earning 12%. So 0.12 times the amount of Y. Equals, how much were they trying to get? What was the goal? 9% of our total. So 0.09 times 70,000. Now, it might make sense to you to go ahead and multiply the 0.09 and 70,000. I just wanted to show you where that came from. So my second equation, 0.09 times 70,000 would be 6,300. If I wanted to cancel X, let's do elimination. What would we have to multiply this one by? So that would be 0.08x minus 0.08y is negative 5,600. So the hard part is writing the two equations. After that, it's like stuff we were doing before. Is everybody with me there? So when I add those together, the x's drop. So 0.04y equals 700. $17,500. I think, double check my math. We have to answer the question. I have y. How would I get x? Either equation. The first one's probably easier. So x would be 52,500. And then we just write it as a sentence. So there should be $52,500 at 8%, or you could say in the certificate of deposit, and 17,500 at 12%, or in bonds.
On the top, when we multiply by 08, why do we multiply by the?
Because we want to be able to eliminate, so in order to eliminate, they have to have the same coefficient, just one positive and one negative. Other questions there? I want you guys to read the next one. See if you can define your variables and write your two equations, but don't start solving them until we make sure your equations are. So Linda won $200,000 in the state lottery. She first paid an income tax of 30% on the winnings. Of the rest, she invested some at 1.5% and some at 4%, earning $4,350 interest per year. How much did she invest at each rate? So what are my things I'm trying to find? So X could be the amount at 1.5%, Y could be the amount at 4%. Now, think about your paychecks. Do you ever get everything you earn? No, the taxes are taken out before it's ever sent to you. So she did not receive a check for $200,000. How would I figure out how much she received? .3. Yeah. So to get your tax, she had to pay 30%. So 0.3 times our $200,000, and that's $60,000. So that's how much the government took. So how much does she have left? Right. So at this point, I don't need to think about 200,000 anymore. I just need to think she has 140,000. So she invested it for two different rates. So I could just say X plus Y equals 140,000. Now let's calculate our interest. So 1.5%, so that would be times X, plus 4% at Y, so 0.04Y, equals, I didn't tell you the percent, but I did even better. I told you how much interest she earned. So this equals so now we can do substitution or elimination. If I want to eliminate X, what do I multiply this by? So we get -0.015x minus 0.015y equals -2,100. So when I add together, the x's drop. 0.025y is 2250. And our y is 90,000. And to find x, what do? Plug it back in to either equation, probably easiest to do the first one. So x is 50,000. So Linda invests 50,000 at 1.5%, 90,000 at 4%. Okay. How are we doing on this? Is that okay? I have a couple more. We'll at least do one of them. So if we're okay, we don't have to do both. But this one is a little bit different. So it tells us the manager of a Starbucks store decides to experiment with a new blend of coffee. We're going to be mixing some B-grade coffee that sells for $5 per pound, that should say with 40 pounds of A-grade coffee that sells for $10 per pound to get a new blend. The selling price of the new blend is to be $7 per pound, and there's to be no difference in revenue from selling the new blend versus the other types. That means she's not trying to charge more for it, same price as if she sold them individually. How many pounds of the B grade coffee are required? So what am I trying to find? What are my two things?
How much of it?
Mhm. Okay, so we know the B grade is $5 per pound, and she's mixing it with 40 pounds of the A grade. Okay, so do I need to find the A? No, I told you that. All right, so let's just set up that first equation. So we might need to come back. We may not really need, this really wouldn't make sense to make that X, because we already know that one. So $5 per pound, so we call that our Y, so 5 times Y, plus 40 pounds of a coffee that sells for $10 per pound, so 10 times 40, equals, okay, something that costs $7 per pound. Do I have a variable for my new blend? No, that's the other thing I need. Okay, so let's make X the amount of our blend, our mixture. So sometimes we picked one, it made sense, but then when we went to write the equation, we didn't really need that to be X, so we had to adjust. The other thing we know, we had 40 pounds, these are representing the pounds, right? So if you took the pounds of the B grade coffee plus the 40 pounds of A grade coffee, we should get the total pounds in our mixture. Now, is this one that you had to solve with systems of equations? Maybe not. You could have figured this out otherwise, and that's okay if you have another way. I'm not somebody that makes you do it my way. If you can solve this problem, you just have to be able to justify your thinking. This is one option for how to solve it. Would we do substitution or elimination? Substitution. So I would say 5y plus, can I go ahead and multiply my 10 and my 40? 400 equals 7 times x, but let's go ahead and replace that x with y plus 40. So I distributed my 7. If I subtract over my 280, subtract my 5y, then y is 60. To answer my question, I don't even need x. I just wanted to know how many pounds of the B grade coffee, and that's what y represented. So there must be 60 pounds of the B grade Colombian coffee. Any questions there? What I'm going to do is actually switch over to this example. We may not do all of these, so I'm going to look at least a couple. So if you have more than two variables, in order to solve it, you have to have the same number of variables and equations. Okay, in order to get a solution, if I have 3 variables, I have to give you at least 3 equations. If I don't, then you're going to have a variable arbitrary. So you'll have infinite solutions of some sort. The idea is still to do substitution or elimination, but you take two equations at a time and eliminate a variable. Okay, so it's going to take a couple more steps, but the same process we already know. So let's say I wanted to start with the first two equations. I need to eliminate one variable in there. Which variable do you want me to get rid of? X. Okay, so to eliminate x, I would take the first one times. And we left the second one alone. So when I add those together, my x's drop. So we have negative 7y plus 6z equals 20. Do I have an answer yet? No, but I have fewer variables. Okay, here's the trick to it. I have not yet used the third equation, so I have to use it. And I have to pick one of the other two and eliminate the same variable. So I eliminated x the first time. That means I have to eliminate x again. Which equation would be better for that? And does it matter? No. So which one do you want to put it with? First one. If I want to eliminate x, I'm taking the first and the third. What would I multiply by? Negative 2x minus 2y plus 2z equals 2. When I add these, positive and negative 2x cancel. So we get negative 4y minus z equals 7. How is this helpful for me? I have these two equations. They only have two variables. So I'm going to put those two together and eliminate something. What do you want to eliminate? Z. So I should take this one times 6. Okay. So we kept the first one the same. This would be a negative 24y plus or minus 6z. So I get negative 31y equals 62. So y is negative 2. Once you find one of them, we can start finding the others. So I'm just going to plug this in to one of the two equations involving y and z. So if I put it in here, that means negative 4 times negative 2 minus z equals 7. And so I get z to be positive 1. So where should I plug those back in? Yeah, one of the originals. So if I just go with the first one, x plus y, which is negative 2, minus 1, plus negative 1. So x is 2. When you go to write your answer, it's just alphabetical order, x, y, z. And just like when we're solving for two variables, we can check by plugging that back into the original. All right. So more steps. And you can imagine if I threw in like 4 variables, this would be a very time-consuming process. I would never ask you to do more than 3. But to get an answer, we just have to take 2 equations at a time. Do you guys want to do another problem like that, or do you want to try it on your own and let me know if you get stuck.
Try it on
So, massive homework assignment. You have 5 questions. It's posted on Google Classroom. Okay?
Oh, it's off to these.
Yeah,
I was like, don't even play right now. I was like, I'm already